Hi there, I'm Matt Buzzard. This is my friend Matt Driskell. We're here in Wellsville, Kansas at Driskell Racing Enterprises, home of championship drag racer and championship engine builder. So Matt's been kind enough today to let us in his shop and spend some time with him. So Matt, just a couple questions. How long have you been in business now?
Well, I've been in business officially here since 2002,
Okay.
January 2nd, 2002. So.
And what would you say drove you to starting your own business?
You know, I had done work out of the shop, not here, but prior to that, where I was at, off and on. And so I had a little bit of a following of customers. I always did my own stuff. And I went back to running equipment. And the last year that I did that, the third year that I actually did that, in 2001, I had a crew and we were out kind of by ourselves, you know, and I'm like, man, if I'm gonna do this, I might be able to make it on my own business, you know. I'm kind of out here facilitating a few things. So that's when I decided that I might as well give it a shot and see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've been fortunate enough to watch your business grow over the years. So you talk about 2002, that's been dang near 22 years ago. And I've seen you had a lot of awesome equipment as time has gone on, and probably along with the equipment, a lot of great customers as well. How would you say that you've been able to attract the bulk of your good customers?
Well, early on when we started in business, I had no equipment. I had a jet wash and a little mini lathe, and that was it. And didn't really know this is what I was going to be doing exactly, but as time went on, just in order to get things done, I needed to have more control, my own, what I was doing and when I could get it done, and that's when I started on buying the equipment. But you know, early on, I would say racing, as far as me and drag racing, that was where the bulk of my customers were at, were drag racers. So me going to the drag races was, you know, I was right there with all my, you know, customers and friends. And since then, as we've gone on in business, I would say the first close to 10 years, maybe a little sooner than that, that's mainly all we did. We kind of branched out into a little circle track work. We, you know, our biggest gainer has been in the truck pull world, the four-wheel drive pickups. And we do some other pulling engines also, but yeah, we've been fortunate enough there. We've won several championships at MSTPA and Outlaws, and won the light modified championship in a tractor. One of my customers did last year with MSTPA also, and we got lots of good customers. So but just trying to do good work and try to do what you say and say what you do, and that's how I've got most of the customers.
Yep, certainly a formula for success. So one of the other cool things about when you see Matt at the drag strip, and just like you said, even all these years later, when I see you at the drag strip, you have of course a great pit presence, but then your customers still pit around you, which I think is cool. So do you find yourself answering a lot of questions throughout the course of the weekend at the races, the customers coming over and tidbit, or have you pretty much educated them before they've hit the racetrack?
Well, yeah, most of them have been with us long enough that they know what to do and how to do it. But yeah, we get a little bit of that at the races. But most of the time, people are very respectful about that. You know, when you're there also racing, sometimes it's hard to stop and do exactly what you might need to do right then. But it's so like I say, it's, and most everybody, all my customers are friends almost, you know, I mean.
Yeah, which makes it awesome.
So you know, they may come by to shoot the breeze, and then we talk a little about what they got going on, but.
Maybe see who's smoking ribs that night on the grill or whatever. Yeah, that's where you guys end up hanging out.
Yeah.
So I know you're a humble guy, but I just think it's one of the coolest things ever that not only are you in a position to build these championship engines for your customers and your friends and your racers, but when we were over at your race shop earlier, noticed all the checks on the wall, and you wouldn't know that about you unless you go in the race shop or you look you up somewhere and say all the races that you've won as a competitor. Do you remember the very first time that you ever won an event and where it was?
Well, the first race that I won was at KCIR at the High School Drag Challenge in 1985.
No kidding.
Yeah, I had been, I believe, my sophomore year and my junior year both, and then there right before my senior year in '85 I won. Well, I had a different race car then, had a little more serious of a race car. Now, I still didn't know anything. I still didn't know how to race. I knew how to drive, but yeah, that was still pretty early on. I didn't have anybody nobody in my family ever raced, so I basically learned it all as I went, you know, and so that was pretty early on, so I was pretty green at that point, but it was a win.
One of the companies that we're both super familiar with is Callie's. We've all kind of grown together. We know the people at Callie's. You and I have been strong supporters of Callie's for a long time. Tell me a little bit about your relationship with Callie's and how long you've been doing business with those guys in Ohio.
Yeah, well, thanks to you, that started almost as soon as I went in business in 2002. You were early on with them somewhat, and so we kind of grew together on that. But yeah, they've been that's my go-to crankshaft company. Not every engine needs a billet crank. Not every engine needs a Magnum even, but they've got the line pretty well covered, you know. So we try to use their products and through all the turmoil everything's been in the last 5
Agreed.
years.
Agreed.
It's I know they're doing their best to work their way out of where they can get product out. So
For sure. So when a customer comes to you and they're talking to you about building a motor, in instance, and I'm sure one of the first questions that you have to ask them is, hey, what's your budget look like? So when we talk about Callie's, the fact that they offer the Compstar line and the Compstar Extreme, which is a new rod line, all the way to a Magnum crank like we're looking at here on the bench, and then even up to a billet, ultra billet crank. So when you're talking to a customer about their crankshafts options, is it pretty much based on their budget or kind of the application that they're wanting to go with?
well, it's application first.
Gotcha.
We can try to make it fit in the budget, but like I tell people, you wouldn't build a multi-million-dollar house on top of a cinder block foundation. So there are certain things you have to have in an engine to ensure that it lives, and so we're not going to have a guy coming in that thinks he wants to make 1,200 horsepower and wants to put a cheap block or a cheap crank in the thing. So my goal is to educate the customer why they need to do something. If you explain to them that it's in their best interest, they can usually figure a way out to make that happen. And it just, like I say, we're not trying to make more money, we're just trying to get them the best piece in there. Well, sometimes that best piece is an ultra billet. It costs $4,500, but
Right.
if that's what they need, that's what we try to talk them into.
Yeah. Okay, well, Matt, I really appreciate your time today and letting us in your shop and see everything you got going on, and just really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, glad you guys came, and enjoyable having you here and always talking to you. So
You betcha.
appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Matt.
Yep, thank you.